The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome. You guys are listening and joining us over here at Hoop Ball for the NBA Today DFS podcast. I am Mike Apotria. I am here with Andrew Hanson. Andrew, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Mike. This is exciting. We're talking about Friday night. We're talking about the last night of regular preseason games. So it's time to bear down here. One more chance, build up the bankroll before opening night. And I've been getting ready for opening night. I've been setting up the home office. I put a second TV in.
You're building a little dojo, man. I would love to do that. If I built any sort of man cave or zone for that, I get a corner in my living room from my desk, and that's all my girlfriend allows me. The rest of it is my apartment is consumed with fashion. There's clothes, shoes. They're landmines. It's a daily struggle to survive over here, but we got to do what we got to do. And we were just talking before the show. We both, have a couple lineups out there today. I got a couple sweats actually going for 2 days in a row. Nothing major, but it's this preseason, man. We're padding the bankroll. It's looking good. I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, are you excited, man? How many shows have you done? I know you've done. This is our second show doing it together. How many have you done with Coach?
Just one with him. So yeah, this is show number 3 overall.
All right, awesome, man. So we're breaking you in a little bit too. So, Andrew, I said last time you're on the show, say a little bit about yourself. But maybe because everybody's heard me and Coach talk about ourselves 100 times. So we're gonna do something I think every time I'm on a show with you, and just we'll start the show with a little fun fact about yourself, something people don't know about you, because you're gonna be part of this, man. You're the three-headed monster.
Okay, well, fun fact. I guess I should mention the book that I wrote, the sports book. It's a book of sports haiku, and that's the main reason my Twitter handle is Language Olympic.
Okay.
I know Coach mentioned that during one of the shows that he was curious about that, and so that's the explanation. That Language Olympic is sort of the idea of using words to talk about sports, but to do it in a sort of creative, playful, athletic way. So that's why Olympic combines with language, and of course, we're talking about sports, including the Olympics. And back in 2012, I wrote a sports haiku every day of the calendar year and turned it into a book.
That's cool, man. That's something I didn't know about you. Now we also got the backdrop on why your Twitter handle is that. So I think this was a good segment, man. I think it's one that we're gonna have to continue. I know Coach, once he listens to this, he'll be pretty hyped up to hear why that is, because like you said, he was kind of wondering it. And of course, before we go any further, I just big shout out to Fantasy Draft over there. They're the guys that are sponsoring the show. The one that's keeping it free for all you guys, the free content. Otherwise, this stuff would be locked away behind a paywall. And deposit now. Get your bankroll up. There's 2 more days of preseason that we're going to be here for. I want you guys to have a bankroll, because this is going to be one site that you're going to want to have it on. It's the only rake-free one out there. It's something that I've been taking advantage of a little bit on the football side, and I'm throwing in a couple just because I know there's a lot less competition when you have this rake-free. You don't need to beat as many people. You get higher payouts. More people get paid out. It's just a wonderful thing. And jump over there. They're always doing their big Sunday contest for football, big rake-free Hooters contest. I'll have probably about 2 lineups. I don't know, Andrew. Do you play the football? Have you been in the Hooters contest at all?
I just did one just to get a feel for the site. So I'll be ready to launch there opening day NBA for sure.
Awesome, man. It's something that we're all kind of pumped up for. I don't know if you take any traditional approach when you're kind of gearing up for that first day of the slate. I know there's 2 games on the first day, but the first, I guess, main slate where there's at least 5 or 6 games on. Do you take any sort of different approach? Anything that you can share with us?
Yeah, what I like to do, I got into the habit last year of focusing on the West Coast games, and so finding contests where it's either maybe a 2-night West Coast contest or even a showdown slate with one game, because family obligations, kids go to bed. Then you can actually really sit down and do your final research, make sure you're ready for lineup block and you know who's playing, and have a little bit of time to build a few lineups. And I like to hone in on a game or two. The big slates, when it's 7, 8 games, I usually shy away from playing a contest that has all 7 or 8 games in it. I like to narrow it down to 1 or 2 oftentimes.
Okay, so here I am thinking, this guy's a nice guy, but you're degenerate just like the rest of us, preying on the weak, taking advantage of those who can't stay up late and are watching their kids. I like it. You're gonna fit in. You're gonna fit in just fine over here, Andrew. We like to prey on the weak over here. So that's the number one thing that take every edge you can get, man. And I've kind of always noticed that too with the difference in time zones. Some people don't want to stay up as late, like you said. They want to watch their players in the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time games, so they play a little bit more of those. And I'm with you, man. That's a nice little tip to throw for people. And there's probably a lot of people out there that didn't know about that. But
yeah, I mean, the key is you have to really recognize what you're best at, what makes the most sense for you, lifestyle, schedule, bankroll, and pick your contests and your number of entries and your strategies accordingly.
That's important, and that's a great point to make, especially because I find myself in that situation all the time where I always want to play. Like I always have this knowledge, but maybe something comes up where I need to pick up my little sister from a soccer game or something half an hour before slate, and I didn't get to get all my lineups in. I'm not going to try to force it and jam it. If I'd rather take the night off than force a lineup without my proper research and my confidence going in there. So it's kind of just know your schedule. That's a good point, Andrew. I like that you brought that up. That's very important for everybody that's actually trying to turn a profit on a yearly round.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's almost pointless to play if you can't be at your computer in the half hour leading up to the lock. I mean, it's just too much can happen. 1 or 2 late scratches, and all of a sudden there's 2 value plays that could be 30 or 40% owned. You have to decide if you want to make those plays. And if you do, are you going to go 89% of your lineups with those value plays or not? So, there's a lot of juggling you have to do at the last minute. So, yeah, absolutely. Your schedule should dictate which slate you play.
All right. Well, the slate we're talking about, guys. It's we always record this the night before. So right now it's currently October 17th, the Thursday. So this is going to be for the Friday slate, and this is the last preseason slate that we will be talking about. So I think then there's just a few days off. It's 3 days off, and then we're looking at the regular season. So it's right around the corner. I like to give you, Andrew, the choice of whatever team you want to pick. So the first game on the slate is going to be Philadelphia versus Washington. Have at it.
All right, let me start with the Wizards, because the big news of today is that Beal signed that extension. So he's locked in tens of millions of dollars. And so if he's going to go out there and play, I'd like to put him in a few of my lineups. He's going to be feeling good vibes. And his minutes have slowly increased throughout the preseason. He got up to 23 minutes last time out. Reasonable price tag at 8.1. So Beal is where I'm looking first on the Wizards. But I'm also going to play Bryant and Rui. Their prices are excellent. Bryant is 5.5. Rui is 5.2. And I like playing them together because if you put their stats together, in the last game out, they combined for 27 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 blocks or steals, one or the other. I can't remember which. So basically, if you think of them as one player combined, they were about 10,000, and they scored 60 DraftKings points. And we know that a 6x return is excellent. So I like those 2 guys together and then throw in Beal. So that's where I'm focused with the Wizards.
Yeah, I agree with you on Beal. I mean, Beal's just one of those guys. He's always in play for me. We just know his massive upside on this kind of slate. Another thing I think we always have to take into account on a day like this is if it's the last preseason game. So this is every team's either last opportunity to just, see their starting unit and what they're going to look like before the start of the season, or to completely just rest them and see what their bench guys look like. So I know when there's cases of position battles, it's something I like to take emphasis on in this kind of day. And I know Davis Bertans is still kind of, fighting for that starting small forward job. Troy Brown Jr. recently just, got tweaked his left calf and is going to miss the next 4 weeks. So that's one of the guys that was kind of vying for that position. And C.J. Miles, I believe, is still expected to be out with a foot injury. So, it doesn't leave much at small forward other than him. And I think if that's going to be one of their main options going into the the start of the season, they're going to want to get a decent look at him with their starting lineup. So I'm with you on Beal. I'm with you on Rui. I love Rui. I just think he's a rookie, going to get minutes no matter what. Bryant, I don't mind. I'm a big fan of Bryant. I'm expecting a lot of good games and a lot of right spots to target him in. I don't know if Joel Embiid's playing just yet, so that's one thing that I would want to take into account and know going into that. As I just generally try not to target guys, especially in limited minutes going against Embiid.
Yeah, I like that hesitation on Bryant. He has been a double-double machine, but you're right, maybe not quite as gung-ho if he's facing off against Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not nothing to say like he can't just have that, good game, that solid game. But like I said, I always try to look at it with the GPP aspect and the GPP mindset, where I always want to take in that baked accountability of their upside. What's his possible upside? Is it enough to win me a GPP? I'm probably going to say no, just because I know there's going to be a few other spots or a few other centers that we might be able to go to later. And just for the sole fact of it's not the best matchup. It's sometimes you don't need to force it in there just because he's a good player doesn't mean it's a good play tonight.
Absolutely. So over on Philly's side, Embiid is 9.6. If he plays, are you playing him?
I'll definitely have some interest in him. I mean, we're going to get to the Houston Rockets, and I mean, you guys probably have been hearing me chirp on them all preseason, and there's no reason for me to stop riding that wave. So I know some of my money is going to be spent over there, but we already kind of know some of the other studs in the later game are sitting, so I think I will have some shares of him if he's in there. Just because I know even if he has an underprice at 9.6, you really wouldn't want 35 fantasy points during the regular season, but during preseason we'll take that all day long. So I think I will have some shares of him if we hear he's playing, just because of all the other stars on this slate that have been ruled out. And just I think I'm going to have some money left over. So that's another point. If we know Bryant and Embiid are playing the same amount of minutes, they're playing the same position, I'll probably just go Embiid because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those slates I leave a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, I like that analysis. The decision can come with you've built your lineup, you're looking at it, you have extra money, then of course take Embiid over Bryant all day long.
And just like looking at some of the other guys on this team, it's a deep team. So, I mean, Ben Simmons, I always think is in play. He's another guy that I'm definitely going to have some emphasis on. Those are probably the only two real guys I'm targeting. I'm going to leave Josh Richardson out in the wings. I'm going to leave Tobias Harris out there as well. I'm not saying they're necessarily, terrible plays. But again, I look for that real upside, and I'm looking for the guys that I know can produce the counting stats on this team, and it's generally going to be Simmons and Embiid that are grabbing a lot of the boards, doing a lot of the defensive stats, getting some assists for Simmons. Scoring is going to be coming from Embiid a lot of the time. Same thing with Horford. I'd rather not play him. So those are the real targets that I'm targeting. I guess targets I'm targeting. Terrible phrase to say, but the guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, it sounds good. Simmons is a question mark with his back. The other guy that I want to mention, I know we have some different thoughts on him, is Thibault, because he's prone to gathering up steals and blocks. And he once again, last time out, had 6 combined steals and blocks. At 4.2K, he put up 28 DraftKings points. So nearly 7x return. I mean, and the thing is, he started with Simmons out. So if Simmons is out again, then I'll go back to Thibault.
Yeah, that's a great call. Just the defensive numbers, and again, it's know your platform, because if you're playing on a site, I believe FanDuel gives you 3 points for blocks and steals, if I'm not mistaken, or they give you extra points than compared to some other sites. I honestly don't play FanDuel too much. You learned that from me. I play it a little bit, but I'm mostly on Fantasy Draft and DraftKings. So, but I know that's one site that gives you a little bit more for defensive numbers. So that's a great call, and just overall, especially if Simmons hits, and he's young. These guys aren't going to get ramped up to 34 minutes each, so I would expect him to get run regardless, and he's going to be a beast for those defensive numbers. I like that call. That's all I really have for Philly. I don't know if you're good or if you want to hit on anything else. You ready to move on to Brooklyn, Toronto?
Let's move on.
All right. So we got 7:30 games, so it'll be a half hour in between the two games that the lock. So we'll have a little bit news probably leading up to this game if we need to hear anything. But it's like we said, Toronto versus Brooklyn. Kyle Lowry has yet to appear in a preseason game. He's listed as questionable as of now. I really don't know what to make of it. I know they really want to get him to play. So the fact that he hasn't played yet is just saying that it is significant, and it's not just precaution or anything like that. This is still probably bothering him a little bit. So I think I'm going to steer clear of the whole backcourt. I think that's kind of solidified. Toronto in general, I'm not really in love with on this kind of slate. I don't think I need to force anybody. If I was to force anybody, it would probably just be Siakam. But that's it for me.
So on the Toronto side, I agree with you. Lowry is the big factor here. If he plays, then I also would stay away from the backcourt. If he sits, then I'm actually very interested in Toronto because they haven't played since Sunday, and Siakam didn't play. Siakam and Ibaka did not play in that game, so they haven't played for quite some time. They've got to get some run here before the regular season. So if Lowry is out, I like to stack 3 of the 4 Raptors, Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and Ibaka. I like those 3, and then maybe some lineups with Powell instead of VanVleet. Because if you look at their prices, Siakam, who's going to be a star this year, is 7.2. And so he's much cheaper than some of the other stars on the slate. And then VanVleet is 5.3. He can double-double. Serge Ibaka is only 4.5, and Powell is 4.6. So because of their prices, if Lowry is out, I'm going to have a lot of Raptors.
So the only struggle I have with playing VanVleet is a very similar situation I'm going to be with Thomas Bryant. I'm going to be playing James Harden. If James Harden's in that lineup, I don't care how many minutes he plays. Nothing's stopping me from hitting the lock button on him if he's in there. So that's one of my guard spots. And then on the other side of this ball, we're talking about Brooklyn now. And a report came out earlier today that they're going to look to play Kyrie Irving significant minutes tomorrow. He hasn't really, sniffed the court too much since he took a nice bow to the face and has to wear that mask. So if that's the case, if we know Kyrie Irving's playing significant minutes, that's enough for me. Mask, no mask, whatever it is. He's a scoring machine, and he can easily drop 20-something real-life points very fast. So it's going to be tough. I'm going to be hard-pressed to get him in there just because I know that in that last game, that late-game hammer that we're going to have, there's going to be tons of value opening up to allow us to get 2 or 3 of these stars in our lineups.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You gotta go through all the matchups and look for value. And I agree, there's going to be some value in that Golden State Lakers game. So, and you're limited. You can only play so many guards. You can't play 8 guards. So you got to make tough decisions for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's a bad play. I mean, VanVleet is a very good player. I think he's going to have a very good role this year, especially when Kyle Lowry ends up getting traded to the Clippers or something. So, when this all happens, he's going to be good either way. I think he should be the starting shooting guard. I don't know if they've kind of written that in stone yet. If Powell's still lobbying for the job a little bit, but I think he could have a good night. But I just want to play with that upside, and I want to kind of go with some of this coach speak. I don't always recommend it. But when you take it in a backseat analysis and when it makes sense, guy hasn't played all preseason, you want to get him good run. I get it. I buy it. So I'm willing to put my money on it, and I'm going to keep doing it with the Harden thing. So, I mean, if you want to play him, he'll probably be low owned. So that's the plus. That's the biggest plus in there. Would I, on a minute and point per dollar basis, would I think he can outscore either one of those two? I would say probably not. But
yeah, and I should clarify. I mean, I'm not talking about a cash lineup or all tournament lineups. I'm just talking about a few stacks with those guys. And looking at the other side of the ball here, you bring up a good point with the price and limitation of how many players you can play, because LeVert is only 5.4K, and he looked excellent in their last game overseas. He's not going to have as many opportunities with Kyrie getting this significant playing time and wanting to get reestablished. But LeVert at 5.4, certainly worth considering. And then Dinwiddie at 4.4. He didn't look quite as good last time out, but some of these price tags on the Raptors I like, again, for, plug in one to your lineup maybe, because, Taurean Prince is 4.4K, Jared Allen 4.4. I don't know why these guys are so cheap, but I probably have a few lineups with one of those guys in each of them.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's just value all over the place on this team, especially with these bigs. Either one of them can grab a double-double very quickly. We've seen DeAndre Jordan last game. He had a pretty good rebounding game, threw in some defensive numbers, caught a couple lobs. So there's definitely some value to be had, especially on the wing. LeVert, again, very underpriced. could go off any game. Yes, Kyrie's going to play in this game, but significant minutes doesn't mean that Kyrie's going to come out here. I'm not like been play 32. I'm expecting like a good 22 to 26 minutes from him. Somewhere in that range, and that's just enough for superstars to get you over that hump. But that still leaves plenty of juice left in the orange for LeVert. He'll still be able to get plenty of shots and still do his thing as well. So those would probably be my two primary focuses: Kyrie, LeVert, and then I wouldn't object to having some thought on one of those bigs. Probably just prefer DeAndre Jordan just because he's a little bit more aggressive when it comes to rebounding.
Right on.
All right. Well, I'm good over here. We can move on to the 8 o'clock game, which is one I think will be pretty simple and quick for us. It's Miami versus Houston. Play James Harden if he's playing. I don't think we need to talk too much about it. I'm assuming you're on board after just watching these monster box scores. But hey, if you're not, tell me why.
No, I'm with you. I mean, here's two numbers for you, and that'll end the discussion on Harden. 34 minutes, 27 shots last time out.
And it's not even like it's out of the norm.
No.
D'Antoni's been doing this for years now, and he plays these guys big minutes. Whenever there's a big lineup change, they bring somebody in, they send somebody out of town, whatever it may be. They did the same thing when they got Chris Paul. They play big minutes next to each other. They're trying to build continuity. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to avoid Westbrook at that price tag with a few other guys that we've already talked about. He's playing with a few dislocated fingers. So I don't think we need to necessarily go there. Just play Harden, I think. And if you wanted to get some shares in Daniel House, I wouldn't knock you for it. But I think that's the only spots I'm really going. I don't expect this game to be too competitive for too long, even if it is. Miami being on a back-to-back and kind of running out what their starting lineup was supposed to really look like tonight. Probably get a good look at the guys that are going to be on the outside of the rotation tomorrow.
Yeah, for Miami, I think it's just we got to wait for the news who's starting because there's just back-to-back. We're not sure who's going to play. But back to Houston, I agree on House. Gordon, I have a little bit of interest in at 4.2 if Westbrook doesn't play with the finger issue. But Chris Clemens, I want to talk about him for a minute because he's a guy that I tweeted about as a second rounder or undrafted rookie to watch preseason, and I had so much fun watching him in the fourth quarter of the last game. He scored 13 points in 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And it was just, he was just launching shots all over the place. And he's fun to watch just because of his size and he's so small, but he's so strong and athletic. But here was the play-by-play. So he scores on a layup, assist from Harden. He comes down, hits a three, hits another three. A couple possessions later, he makes a steal, dribbles it out himself to the three-point line, buries another three. Then he adds another layup. So that was all within that 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And he also took some other shots there in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and missed. So he was just your ultimate come in and jack guy. Yeah. But he's got a great stroke. And, playing the narrative thing again, they just converted his contract from the Exhibit 10 contract to a two-way contract. So now he can be with the team for up to 45 days. And, of course, the team can still convert that to a regular NBA contract. So he's got to be feeling great that they're, investing in him. So I would expect D'Antoni to continue to give him some run because I think he's going to be in the rotation. So I got to have a little Chris Clemens in my lineup as well.
Yeah, no, they sparked a comeback. I believe it was him and Ben McLemore. You would never expect it. They actually did spark a nice little comeback. It was, I like that call. There's nothing about it. It's a good call, and at the end of the day, he's going to get minutes. James Harden, yes, he played 34, but we still saw Clemens. So odds of James Harden playing 34 minutes again probably aren't that good. We don't need him to play 34, but that just means that's going to be more minutes for Clemens. So I like that call, man. Good call. Seriously. He, like you said, I think it's like a wait and see approach, but I guess I could take a couple of stabs at it for what if scenarios. So again, waiting to see what the starting lineup would be huge. But I would assume some of these starters are going to sit. And if we hear that, Winslow and Dragic sit, you could definitely look at Kendrick Nunn, I think. Point guard that they're very interested in seeing get a little bit of extra run. Kelly Olynyk, I wouldn't expect. He's coming back off an injury. It's a back-to-back. I doubt they want to play him on the back-to-back. And I'd be surprised. Bam's been playing, excuse me, every single game so far during this preseason. So it wouldn't shock me to see him sit a little bit. So the front court might be a little bit dicey, but I'd be okay with guys like, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, and Derek Jones Jr. If he plays, he's another guy that's questionable. It was, bruised knee, so might just be better to rest him. So if it's all going to be on this lineup, but those are the guys I'd probably have the most interest in if people sit.
Yeah, got to follow the news because the starters have really good prices. Bam, Butler, Winslow. Winslow's only 4.5K. I don't understand that. But
Butler at 5.5, Andrew?
Yeah, I know.
I played him all day tonight. I saw that price tag.
That was smart.
5.5.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, we'll never see that again.
No.
But yeah, if those guys are out since it's second night of a back-to-back, then yeah, look at Nunn and Hero and possibly Jones.
Yeah, and Hero, Hero didn't start tonight. And it was mostly because they wanted to take a good look at Duncan Robinson. He's a guy that he's, potentially looking at getting good rotation burn this season. It's like right off the rip. They want to know what this kid can do. So he's another guy I just kind of looking through right now. Wouldn't be shocked to see if I get extended run. I honestly, personally, do not know a ton about his game, so I'm not going to sit here and say he's a great point per minute producer or he's not one because I really genuinely don't know.
I watched him in summer league, and I paid special attention because he's born in Maine, and that's where I'm from. And I like his game a lot. He was aggressive in Vegas, good stroke, sort of a small forward that's agile. So yeah, if he's going to start and play big minutes, he's absolutely worth considering.
All right. Well, I'm good over there. We can move on to the next one, another 8 o'clock game. We got New Orleans versus New York. Andrew, pick your team.
I'll go with the Knicks because I built some lineups on the Wednesday night slate where I was stacking the Atlanta-New York game, and it was Young and Collins for Atlanta, and then for the Knicks it was Barrett and Morris or Barrett and Randall for me. So I still like those three guys, Barrett, Randall, and Morris. Good prices. It's like they're involved in every play. And Randall, he's handling the ball so much. He's like a point forward, and it seems like he's on a mission. Like, he's like, I want to show the world on national television what I can do as I am I'm going to be a free agent here in another year or two if I want to opt out. And it's like he's trying to send a message. So I'm just going to stick to those three guys again.
Yeah, no, I think Barrett is the number one guy I'd be looking to put in my lineups first. Just these minutes are out of control. I don't think they're going to slow down. I think they just want to get him as much run as possible, get him used to this NBA game speed. I like the Randall call. Morris, I don't knock it. I'd probably kind of just scale it back to mostly the guys like Randall and Barrett. Looking at the point guard situation is another thing I like to monitor, just because we know Elfrid Payton and Dennis Smith Jr. are both kind of vying for that starting job, and it's already been mentioned by Fizdale that they're playing for it basically in this game. So I know that Payton got a lot of burn in the first few games while Smith was hurt. So first game back from injury, played 20 minutes last game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple more, maybe like that 25-minute range, just because he didn't get to play in the first few. So those are the three guys I'd be looking at, but I'd be most inclined with Barrett and Randall.
All right. Well, who do you like for the Pelicans with Zion out?
Well, that's the big thing, and it's going to be a lot of usage. It's going to be a lot of rebounds. It's going to be a lot of everything. I think one of my favorite plays is going to be Nickeil Alexander-Walker. This kid just looks amazing. He looks so NBA ready. Everything about his game, his length, his defense, his stroke, it's all good. So, that's one of the first guys I'd be looking to put in, because I don't anticipate them to kind of, go full bore this game. I'd be kind of just scaling back the starters' minutes, especially just seeing that, Zion got hurt. Just let's get into the regular season kind of thing. But I think that, Lonzo is kind of always a guy that's in play, just because he's that kind of walking triple-double for him. He can get the steals. He can get rack up the assists and the rebounds very quickly for a guard. And then, we might, I don't want to jinx it, because, it would just be too good to be true to see Jackson Hayes play a little bit.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like, Jahlil Okafor is the backup. We know this already. And now they're going to have to make up for that small ball. I think Millie's going to get some of it. But without Zion in the lineup, they're not going to be able to go small ball center half as much.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Hayes, if we thought he was going to play 20-plus minutes, he'd be on my radar. But my number 1 and 2 are Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Melli. I think he'll play more. He's only 4.8. He put up really good numbers last time out, 14 and 9 in only 18 minutes. So I think he's going to play over 20 minutes. So I really like Melli.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. I think we're on the same page with that. Those are definitely probably, I'm looking at it now. He should slot right into that Zion role the more you speak about it. So I'm glad you bring that up because he was on my radar, but he's someone I probably would have glanced over a little bit and just kind of said, avoid that front court. I don't know what's going to go on. I want nothing to do with it. But you're just what you're talking about. It's kind of perking my ears up a little bit. I think I'm going to have some Millie tomorrow. That's thank you. Get me on board.
That's why we chat. That's why we chat this out.
All right. So I think that's all I'm really looking for in that game now. I think it's going to be those two young guys. We hit the New York side, so I think we're going to move on to Memphis, San Antonio. It's going to be the 8:30 game. That's of course Eastern Standard Time. Andrew, I think I would be a fool to not want to take the Grizzlies over the Spurs. So I think I'm gonna trump you on this one. I'm gonna stick you with the Spurs. Just this, I need a break.
Enough.
I need a break from the Spurs. I think Coach makes me talk about.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
All right, so just I guess looking right at this Grizzlies team, it's gonna be the young guys, which is everybody on the team. I guess I can go a night without recommending Bruno. He's just not going to get the minutes to get you there. If he is, I would say jump on it. His point per minute stats are unreal. I shout out to the guy on Twitter who gave me that Bruno sighting. That was pretty cool, man. I love the good Bruno sightings. I wasn't following the game at that exact moment. Once you said that, I jumped to the box score, and I was looking at these 10 points or whatever he had, and I was happy with it. So I'm looking at Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant. And that's about it. I don't really want to touch anything else. They are playing the Spurs at the same time.
Yeah, Ja is 4.5K. He's mispriced, so he has to be in consideration. And Jaren Jackson fouled out 2 games in a row. So you like the aggressiveness. I know Coach was all over him in the last game, as was I, because he was frustrated in 2 games ago. So he looked a lot better in the last game, and so I'm looking at him as well. One fun stat for you: in the last game, Dylan Brooks, 30 points and 1 steal. That was it. Nothing else. Just gunning. So
Thon Maker,
just unbelievable.
The empty stat lines.
So that was fun. For San Antonio, all right. So you've given it to me. I've got to deal with it. DeRozan, 6.6K. He'd be in like 10 to 20% of my lineups at that price. It's not Jimmy Butler at 5.5, but DeRozan at 6.6. Maybe he plays 24 minutes, and I like that value. Murray is putting up decent numbers at his limited minutes, so he's the only other guy I might play at 5.4, but not much interest in the Spurs.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. If we know that Aldridge got some pretty good burn last game. DeRozan did sit it out, and it was because I believe he had like a bruised chest. I don't know if that's going to affect him because generally, the Spurs training staff is pretty honest. If they're resting a guy, they have no problem telling you that he's resting. They're not going to make up an injury, so. That might be something worth monitoring. Rudy Gay is a player that he's been DNP 2 games in a row. I wouldn't expect him to play. I don't think that's a rest case scenario either. But for me, again, yeah, I'm with you. It's Murray. I would have slight interest in DeRozan if he's playing. But again, I think it's just one of those Spurs situations where it's a little tough to kind of want to put any of your money on any of these guys. Even during the regular season games, it's tough unless they're in the right matchup. It should be an up-tempo pace, but it shouldn't be a game where they don't pull out early, starters, don't play after the second quarter kind of thing. Each one sees 18 to 20 minutes.
Right.
All right. And then we have the most confusing game of the night, which is the one that we've seen the most over the past week.
Yes.
Can you explain how that would be? We got to watch these guys play probably about 3-4 times since the preseason started already, and we really don't know what's going to happen just because of all the volatility in their lineups, who's sitting, who's playing, who's hurt, who's not. I'm going to let you pick. I'm cool talking about either one of these guys because it's pretty much the same situation for both. Which one would you like to take?
I'll go with Golden State. And this one is tough. I mean, it's the fourth time these guys have played, but it is a rematch of sorts from the Monday night version where Anthony Davis and LeBron were out for the Lakers and Steph Curry was playing for Golden State. And that's what it's shaping up to look like for this occasion as well. The question mark for me here is Draymond at 5.7 or Marquise Chris at 5.5. And they both played on Wednesday, and Chris did not look good at all. It was sort of like he was deferring to Draymond. But Draymond isn't as attractive as you'd want either at that low price tag because his shot does not look good. He was 0 for 5 on threes. Everything was short, flat. He's just not quite in midseason form. So I've sort of been struggling with that because, in a perfect world, you want to play one of them because they're going to get so much usage. So I may, in terms of Chris, I think I'll pass on Chris if Draymond is playing. I might have to get a little bit of Draymond just because he's 5.7. Steph, I'm a little hesitant on that as well because in that Monday game, he was out there with all those rookies and unproven players, and it was just a mess. I mean, it looked like a G League game. The offense was not flowing. You could tell it was not the Golden State Warriors that we're all used to watching. It was Steph Curry and a bunch of G League guys, basically. So I probably would stay away from Steph in the end and, maybe get Jordan Poole in for a lineup or two because he's attempted 9 threes in both of the last 2 games. He's only shot 2 for 9, but if he's going to keep jacking, maybe he'll have a better outing. Just sort of a frustrating game to try to break down, but that's the best I can do at it at this point.
Yeah, I didn't expect anybody to have the right answers to this. That's why I let you pick. They're both gonna be tough. I'm kind of with you. It's pretty much just Draymond for me. I mean, trying to juggle up. We didn't even see Spellman get a minute last game, so it looks like Chris is kind of beating him out as far as that job is concerned. So I'd be mostly looking at Draymond. I wouldn't mind having a couple shares of Curry just because we know what kind of volatility he has, and he can drop 40 in the preseason game. We've seen it.
Yes.
So I wouldn't mind a few shares of him if you push comes to shove. Give me Harden over him any day of the week. Don't even think about it. It should even be questioned. It's just lock it in kind of thing. So, but he is Curry, so we have to mention him. But on the Lakers side of the ball, it's news has already came out. LeBron, AD, both sitting. Pretty much looking at a bunch of garbage time for a bunch of garbage guys. Kuzma obviously still going to be out with that stress reaction in his foot. I'm looking at just these same guys I've been targeting every time we see these stars sit. I'm going to be looking at your Alex Caruso's, your Zach Norvell's. I would. It doesn't sound the most appetizing. That I know. I think you might even be able to look at a little bit of Dwight Howard in this game, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I would say that, but he was producing some counting stats in his last appearance, and it wouldn't shock me if he gets some little extended run in this last game.
I agree. I mean, it's weird to say it, but he's out there battling, playing hard. He's trying to show he's got this new attitude, and last time in this matchup on Monday, he was 12, 13, 6, 4, and 1. I mean, that's what you're looking for from a center at 6.1K.
That was in 22 minutes. So that's what I would consider almost being like close to what his floor is going to be. Knowing that Davis and LeBron are sitting, I would kind of anticipate that they scale back, Danny Green's and JaVale McGee's and a lot of these key rotation players' minutes just to, give these extra guys a little bit of run. So that's that's the one thing that's kind of, I guess turning me off of Curry a little bit is the fact that it's kind of unappetizing to run out Curry for big minutes against a lineup like this. Like, what is that doing? It's not preparing him for anything. He's playing against G League players going into the regular season. he can go to like an LA Fitness and pickup game and get the same kind of treatment. So I mean, that's where I'm at with those. I actually think that Dwight might even rate out to be one of my favorite plays on the Lakers. If Dan Bespris goes back and listens to this, he'll probably fire me, and I won't be able to do any more podcasts here anymore, just because of his hatred for Dwight Howard right now in that whole Lakers situation. But I think it's a real thing right now, and I think that's kind of where we're at, that he has to be at least considered.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I had his name written down, but my favorite players I like to circle. So I just circled him because of what you said, and I wrote down floor 12, 13, 6, 4, and 1. So that's going to be his floor tonight, and that's what we can all bank on. Perfect.
Yeah. Take that to the bank. That will go great for me.
That's for you, Dan.
Yeah, no, and I think it's I'm a big 2-center guy, so I did mention Joel Embiid earlier in the night. So I wouldn't be shocked if I have a few lineups that have a little bit of Dwight Howard and a little bit of JaVale McGee, locking up one of my utilities and one of my center spots.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, I think we got through it. That's the last preseason game of the year that we're going to be talking about. And before you know it, we're going to be on the regular season. Big shout out again to the guys over at Fantasy Draft hooking us up. They're a presenting sponsor. They do great things over there at their Rake Free Sports, and get into their contest every Sunday. The Hooters contest, Rake Free. It's just worth it, man. I'm telling you, I've been running off profit since I started over there, and I started with just one $20 lineup on the first week of football. And I'm not a football guru, so it's just simple stuff of me, just like the same thing I would almost do here, coach speak. Obviously, I know what to research a little bit more over here than I do on the football end. But listen, if I can win money on that, playing football rake free, there's not a reason why you guys can't do it either. I'm nothing special when it comes to the football. And please give us a rate and review. Go on to iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, wherever we're everywhere. We're all waves. We're all video. We're all over the place. Just give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment, positive comment if you could. Give us some constructive criticism if you need to as well. We want to get better at this. We want to kind of make it catered to you guys, so you guys like what you're hearing. We're getting better and keep coming back, and we're still getting better at doing this as well. So follow us on Twitter at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. At Language Olympic, LanguageOlympic, and then Joe Salvati, the other guy. He's not here. I forgot to mention to you this, Andrew. We were getting off our show last night. We hung up, and he goes to me, "Oh man, this is gonna be our last show that we're doing for until the regular season, man." He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you tomorrow night." I said, "Miss me? What do you?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you're not gonna be on the show." And then I'm sitting there, I'm listening. I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to think of the schedule. I know we got a schedule. We just talked about it." And I'm like, "Coach, you're not the one that's going to be on it, right? You're the one that's getting the night off." And he's like, "Oh man, I really wanted to talk about the slate." He wanted to crash it. He wanted to try to crash our show. I said, "No, this is mine and Andrew's time. Leave us alone."
And Coach, Thursday nights are off limits for you. You know that.
Yeah. I told him I was going to throw a few old people jokes in there. But I'll save those ones in the barrel. We'll be going back and forth throughout the year. But
yes,
that's all
indeed.
I got, man. I had a good time. I love doing these shows with you. I think we're gonna take this into the regular season with some good juju.
Absolutely, yeah. So good luck to everyone out there on the final night of the preseason, and have a nice weekend. We'll get ready for opening night.
That's it, man. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.